Blended workforces are one of the hottest talent strategies today, where employers are using a mix of traditional employees with external resources like independent contractors, coaches, consultants, vendors, and technology solutions, all in order to enhance competitiveness, ensure cost flexibility, and expedite business goals. But how are the successful companies infusing blended workforces into their business strategy? And what are the critical success factors and pitfalls to avoid during implementation? And on the flip side, what does it really take for suppliers to improve their chances of finding and landing contract opportunities? The devil is in the details, my friends. I'm your host, Karen Farrell Rhodes, and it's time to get smarter about blended workforces at work. Hello, my superstars. This is Karen, and welcome to another episode of the Blended Workforces at Work podcast. Boy, do we have a fantastic guest on our show today. We're thrilled to welcome to today's show Kathleen Hurtubise. Hopefully I got that right. Her last name, Kathleen Hurtubise, who's the CEO and founder of AlohaHP. Now, AlohaHP is Hawaii's premier staffing company. But believe it or not, she is in the midst of expanding here to the mainland. So she's soon to be one of the nation's premier staffing agencies. And she offers temporary personnel parts in different work classifications, full-time, part-time, gig work, contract work, and direct hire personnel to phenomenal companies right now, primarily on the islands. But like I said, she's coming to the mainland very, very soon. And she's going to tell us more about the expansion plans in just a moment. But I couldn't wait to have Kathleen on the show because I wanted to chat with her a little bit more about what Aloha HP does in this area of focus. Wanted to understand her expansion plans. And also, they have a fantastic initiative that supports a relatively untapped segment of the talent pool. And you all know in the war for talent, being very creative and resourceful is what's going to keep companies alive. And I can't wait to feature all the fantastic work that she and her teams are doing. So welcome to the show, Kathleen.
Well, it is a wonderful pleasure to be here, Karen, and you are beaming and you're so kind. So I'm just thrilled to be here in your warm, accepting hospitality space. Thank you.
Oh, that is so kind of you to say. Well, I have a ton of questions, obviously, to ask you. But, before we dive deep in those, we always love to learn just a tad bit more about our guests. So, for just as much as you feel comfortable, would you mind giving us just a brief sneak peek into your life outside of work?
Yes, I would love to. Outside of work, and really, I feel like life is everything. So everything just kind of blends together, which is beautiful. And what is really important to me is that I'm a yogi. I get up every morning at 4 in the morning, and for 2.5 hours, I do sadhana. And sadhana is just a beautiful grounding space in the most quiet time of the morning. And it allows me to just center into myself. And I find the more I can do that, the more I can be of service to others and I can inspire other people to look within. Because I feel like in this day and age, there's so much exterior that we are attracted to, shiny gold objects. And I find that when we slow down and sit down and calm down, especially in the early morning, it allows us this beautiful foundation from which to be a leader.
Love that. Love that. I won't say, no, I do meditate, but I will not say I do it for 2 hours. I can't even say that.
Every
I do it
moment
for 20
counts.
minutes.
Yeah.
But I will say, one of my dear, dear close friends is Japanese, Zumi, and she does do about an hour and 15 minutes. Every day she gets up very early as well. So I do appreciate the practice, and it does empower one to be in their best selves throughout the rest of the day. But I got to work up to your 2 hours, so don't hold it against me.
Not at all. And yes, the leader of self is the most beautiful place to be, whether it's for 2 minutes or 20 hours. It doesn't matter. Leader of self is where we find in moments our greatest power.
I totally agree with you. I'll virtual high five you on that one. Well, let's dive on in if you don't mind, Kathleen. And I'd love for you to maybe give us a couple of highlights of the founder story of what prompted you to want to found and start Aloha HP.
Sure. Well, my story starts before my company started, and that was when I started my first company, which was 2003. I started an event logistics company,
Oh,
and I grew that company quite successfully. And in 2014, there was an opportunity to bid for the contract for the Hawaii Convention Center to do all of the front of house staffing.
oh,
And I thought this would be a beautiful way for us to really share the aloha with people from all over the world. So, as an event logistics company, I bid for that million-plus contract, $1 million contract, and I won. And at that
wow.
moment, out of excitement, I also discovered that it's staffing agencies that win contracts like that. And so I diligently went and took the staffing agency test in the state of Hawaii and got all of the credentials set up and logistically. And so that was the birth of my staffing company. It was birthed and grown out of a event logistics company.
Wow.
And that is why, as a staffing company, although we work in verticals such as light industrial, admin, and hospitality as it relates to food and beverage, it's really steeped in this whole sense of hospitality, meaning friendliness and welcoming. That's really the core of that word. So we are all about putting our very best selves forward as a staffing agency. So whether someone is going to work in a warehouse and drive a forklift, we expect our temp team members to have kindness and to bring out their very best when they are going to whatever company we're deploying them to.
Oh, that's amazing. And culture is such an important culture and values are such an important part of setting the stage, especially in a staffing firm, for the type of experience that you want your clients to have. And you're counting on your temporary staff to do that. So I'm curious how do you set the stage if Karen Rhodes wants to come in and be considered to be part of the Aloha HP team to be placed somewhere, what are the types of things that you do to help communicate those type of expectations and values to like how do you onboard your people so that they embrace the same spirit that you're embracing?
Right. Well, first, we love a wide, diverse group of people working with us, right? Come
Yeah,
one, come all is my philosophy.
love it.
And when you come in and you want to work with our unique staffing agency that is a for-profit impact focused staffing agency, we expect you to bring your very best self. So part of the onboarding process, of course, is getting you onboarded as a W-2 worker in my staffing agency. So all the tax forms, the documentation and such, of course, first and foremost. And then after that is done, we then put you through a 2-hour Aloha Academy. And it is a proprietary academy that we have put together that has three parts. First is to reiterate the HR component and the importance of compliance and making sure that you understand all of those HR components as it relates to you working in my company. Then
Yeah.
the second part is really about whole person. And there's two components in that piece, which I think is really beautiful and I feel sets our people up for leadership of self. First is our 10 golden rules of aloha. And these are very practical things that we expect people to bring forth in themselves. And if this doesn't resonate with them, then that's the time to say, thank you so much for applying, and this is not the right fit for you. So, some of those 10 golden rules of aloha is that practice good time management. We expect our people to arrive 10 to 15 minutes before their shift time because that is on time.
Yes.
Our clients want our people to be ready, grounded for work when it's 8 o'clock. That doesn't mean arrive at 8 o'clock and then get settled in. So practice good time management. Another one is to work with integrity. It's really important to deliver on our promises. And for people to learn that and to know that that's what we expect from them, when you expect something from someone, you raise that bar because people will come up to the level of the bar that you put forward for them. So maybe someone has had issues with time management in the past, or perhaps with integrity. And so what we're saying is, past is the past. And if you want to work with my staffing agency, you need to spiral up and to come up to the bar that we're expecting you to. So show us your results and you can work with us. The other piece of this whole person aspect of Aloha Academy is that we're really into mind, body, spirit as it relates to not only work, but just life in general. So there is an 11-minute meditation that we teach people to do. It's called Long Deep Breath. And we work with this amazing world-renowned yogi. His name is Tommy Rosen. And he brings all of our people that we're onboarding through an 11-minute meditation, long deep breathing, so that they can just, perhaps for the first time, take the most full breath and intentional breath of their life. And if that's the only time they do that, that's beautiful. So that's our
Right.
second part of the Aloha Academy. And then the third part is giving people an opportunity when they do come into our company as a part-time or full-time temp worker. They will also have opportunities to be a gig worker with us. And so that last part tells them about additional opportunities for them to earn more income. So the Aloha Academy, I feel like, really sets us apart as a unique staffing agency that's for profit, and then is also about giving people a hand up and helping them spiral up. They have to lead themselves.
Absolutely. You know what I love? So let me just give you kudos on that because I love how you set the tone early and not in a just a push way where you're just pushing a directive. It's in a win-win way, letting them come to the conclusion of whether this is going to be a great experience for the both of you all, as you both evaluate that contracting relationship or employment relationship because they're W-2s for you, but contracting relationship. And if you don't mind me saying, there's quite a few, I mean, there are, hundreds of thousands of staffing companies out there. There are only a few that I have seen that have given that kind of self-care to their individuals because they almost consider them, assets to be placed only. I mean, they're kind and friendly, don't get me wrong, but they don't have that full holistic view. And the fact that you even have a proprietary academy is just amazing. And it really, in my opinion, sets the relationship off to at least a good start. And that's the first thing you want to do, right? When a new colleague comes to be part of AlohaHP. So I just want to give you kudos on that.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it is just a first start. It's not perfect.
Yeah,
It is an intention to bring out the very best in someone. And it's them to prove themselves to do that. And we're giving them an opportunity to do that. We're
I love
opening up the
that.
door.
Oh, wonderful. Now, what have you seen as some of the challenges back when I know you're thinking about expanding, and I mean you're going to be expanding. We'll get into that in just a second. But what were some of the challenges with primarily servicing those in Hawaii, companies in Hawaii? Were there restrictions? Is it hard to find talent? Is it hard to find client? What were some of your, like, one or two of your challenges that you had keeping the company thriving?
Yes. Well, I'll say, finding clients is not so challenging, especially in this work environment where the question is, where did all the people go post-pandemic, right?
Right.
There's a big question mark. I cannot find reliable people. I hear that all the time. What, you're a staffing
Yeah.
agency, you're placing people? Well, that's beautiful. So finding clients is not an issue in this moment. What is the issue for everyone is finding reliable talent, right? Reliable talent that will stick around. And one thing that we have found very successful is working with workforce development programs and allowing people to come into the workforce through us. I really see us as a bridge between a lot of people who are coming out of workforce development programs for a variety of reasons and then wanting to find meaningful work. Well, we know all those companies that have amazing jobs, even entry-level jobs where they can then find themselves in the future at a much higher level in those companies. So we love painting that picture of what if, the possibilities of growing with this company. And more importantly, we're able to take the talent and match them with these companies. And this bridge that we are, kind of this blowhorn of like, what is the possibilities out there for the talent and for the companies to be matched with these individuals, we're finding very, very good results.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. I think this might be a good time to highlight because I think one of the the segments that you work with is the Hands Up program. And so could you share a little bit more? I know it's your program, but it's the talent pool that is largely untapped in many places. So can you share more about the program and what you all are trying to do there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we stood up the Hand Up program in early 2003. So it's almost 2 years old. And we work with 17 different nonprofit organizations across the state that are working to allow people to get special certifications or people who are coming out of difficult situations, whether it is incarceration or drugs or homelessness. People get into bad spaces. That doesn't mean that they're bad people. It just means that they had a hiccup in their life, and this is giving them an opportunity to get grounded again through these workforce development programs. And then what we're doing as part of the equation of our staffing agency is being a bridge between those workforce development programs, picking the people that really resonate with our 10 golden rules of aloha and leadership of self, and then matching those people, those diamonds in the rough, with companies that are looking for people who will show up on time, have integrity, and work hard. And we're finding a lot of wonderful success in that because we're setting up the stage in a way that is going to be a win for the talent and a win for the company. Though it's not just helter skelter, we're being very deliberate and very clear with the talent that's coming out of workforce development to say, this is not just a job. This is you showing up and really allowing yourself to bring out all of your gifts and talents and working through our company for another company. And I will say that my experience has been people who have had a rough spot in their lives, quite rough. There's a sense of gratitude and a sense of knowing what they are getting the second time around.
Yes. And
I've also
appreciate,
experienced,
right?
yeah. So there's that appreciation, there is that sense of really valuing being able to work and have dignity and being able to bring a paycheck home and have independence again in their lives.
Do
It's really
companies ever
important.
push back on that? Are they ever concerned if, say, they were formerly incarcerated?
Absolutely. If companies, so we're very open with, of course, how we work. And I have found that companies, first and foremost, want to have reliable, integrous people working with them, hard workers. And in terms of incarceration, we're not looking at heinous crimes. We're looking at
More minor
just
crime?
bad. Yeah, that's
That's
right.
a good
And just
distinction.
bad short. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's really important. And then, of course, we're always doing drug background checks for our clients that require that. And what we have found is that when we deliver someone in the light industrial space, in the hospitality space, that's showing up on time, that's appreciative, that's a hard worker, and delivering results, that speaks volumes. That speaks to the reality of who that person is in this moment.
I love that. That's wonderful. That sounds like a fantastic area of focus. Now, talk a little bit more about your expansion plans. It sounds like you have done a fantastic job ingraining your company within Hawaii, but why come to the mainland? There's a
Yes.
I know there's a ton of opportunity, but it's one thing to niche down in a specific location or area. It's another thing to scale and expand. So we're just curious, how did this come about? Your expansion plans?
Yes. Well, I think, yes, the opportunity aspect is there. And then there is kind of a sense of a calling. And I feel like what we're doing here is unique, is exciting, and is needed and is wanted, in different markets. And I have been so privileged to work with salt of the earth, hardworking staff here. They are a self-managing team here in Hawaii, and being able to use this prototype here in Hawaii and really exude the aloha spirit that people from around the world, even if they've never been to the beautiful islands of Hawaii, can understand what that word aloha means. I mean, it just has such a soothing aspect to it. And so our intention in expansion is to really bring a sense of aloha to other markets, a sense of kindness, a sense of grace, and a sense of really allowing people to be their best selves, come into a staffing agency and be deployed into a company that absolutely needs their support. So being able to go into markets and compete with other staffing agencies from an impact focused perspective is exciting. And it's giving people, I think, hope and opportunity to really show up and do their best. And for companies to experience a different type of staffing agency. Like you said, there's most staffing agencies, no knock about this, but assets to be filled, right?
Yeah.
That's how the business of
Transactional.
staffing works. And
Yeah.
so if we integrate into this business a sense of maybe dignity, a sense of the realization that our beautiful assets are human beings and what is the potential of a human being, I feel like that gets really exciting in this business that I found myself in called staffing.
I love that. And have you made up your mind which states you're going to start in, or where are you going to start?
Yeah, we're looking at a couple of states. We're
Okay.
looking at Arizona, Utah, and Texas as our entry points. So more to come in the first quarter of 2025.
Awesome. Well, I'm asking you then so that people can keep you on their radar. If you want a different type of experience, typical experience than you get from other staffing agencies, maybe that'll pique people's ears to look you up and follow your expansion. So when you're available in those markets, hopefully you'll be on speed dial to them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I know, we always love success stories. So back to, how you give opportunities to others that are getting back into the workforce. Could you share maybe one that or an example of somebody, and we can keep out their name to protect their privacy, but we'd love to hear a situation where they didn't have an opportunity, but maybe they got an opportunity through Aloha HP and have kind of maybe risen through the ranks and been successful. Do you have
Yeah.
one top of mind
You,
for us?
Sure. One story that comes to mind, and for anonymity, I'll call this person Lisa, right?
Great.
So Lisa grew up in Colorado with a single mom, and her father was deported to Mexico when she was really young. So she is a US citizen, and she had to pull herself up by the bootstraps. She attended junior college in California before she was accepted to the UCLA. And then during the pandemic, she moved to Hawaii. And when she landed, she was, lost, at her, sense of what she was going to do in Hawaii to make ends meet. What she did is she joined Aloha HP as a temp team member in our hospitality division. In the 2 years that she was here, she really was able to go across the state and work with us, so much so that she was able to save quite a bit of money. And now she's entering law school next year.
Really?
Yes. So being
Wow.
able to have the money, the resources, and the experience that she gained from working with us across Hawaii has allowed her to really put herself into a wonderful trajectory for her future.
Oh, that is fantastic. Oh my goodness. That is so wonderful. So you just never know the impact that you're going to make on people's lives. How would you know that when you started Aloha HB, What a story.
Yeah.
That's a
You don't know that. And I will say this, I am so about a hand up, never hand out, because
right.
there is this sense of respect and dignity and faith that people can be better. People can really pull out of themselves their best selves and lead themselves moment by moment, because that's really how we form our lives, is
Right.
by
Absolutely.
those micro moment decisions and pausing for a second and making a better decision. And so we're really about that with not only Lisa, but the hundreds of people who work with us, really holding them to a higher standard than perhaps other staffing agencies.
Interesting. Well, I know there are some positions that we'll always need a human for, but I'm curious if you hear any unrest in your staff around the impact of technology or AI or something that would take their opportunities down the road, or it being fewer opportunities. Is there any unrest, or everybody still pretty comfortable right now?
Well, people are comfortable, and then there's many opportunities out there through the media to hear about the unrest and the oh my goodness, the sky's falling in the future as it
Right,
relates, especially to hospitality, right?
right,
And
right.
light industrial. And when that time comes, we will be in those moments and we will be ready for that. And I will say that the more we automate, the more we allow AI to take over, those basic roles of ours as human beings, it allows us more freedom to be creative. And it also allows us more ability to have a space where hospitality really matters, where that warmth of a human being, the creativity of a human being showing up and really delivering, then actually becomes a premium. And
It
so
does.
I'm really interested in that because the more things become, computer driven, I feel like the more we can open up as human beings, as a creative entity. And this is
Yeah.
not like unicorns and rainbows. I'm just talking
Right.
about like really moment by moment, perhaps hard decisions in order to be like a connected human being. The more
Yeah,
we can practice that, I feel like the more value a human being has because they're
absolutely.
not robots. They're
No,
human beings. And the more they can express themselves as an individual, I feel like that will be more valued as we move forward with technology.
I agree. I'm kind of leaning towards that as well. I think there will be some advancements. I think there will be some tasks that might end up being more commonly executed by technology. But I do feel, and probably for my lifetime anyway, that there's always going to be a human component that is needed. And we'll hunger for that. I mean, think about the pandemic. When we were all isolated, it was really, really tough. I do think that human component in some way, shape, or form is going to be needed. And there'll be definitely opportunities to better engage. And to your point, it might free us up to be even more creative than we are today, which will cause additional advancements in every area of our lives, business, spiritual, you name it. I think it'll open up opportunities versus closing them down. But that's Karen's view. Well, Miss Kathleen, unfortunately, we're running a little bit short on time, but we cannot let you get out of here without sharing your answer to our signature question. As you know, my firm did some research on how to best optimize workforces to do their best work. There were 7 buckets of areas that are very impactful for any leadership or work initiative. And we always love to ask our guests which one of those really popped for you. And so you were so kind to share that leading with courageous agility really resonated with you. And for my new listeners out there, leading with courageous agility is all about having the courage and the fortitude to stand up for your belief in and still take those baby steps forward, even if you're uncertain of the future or what will happen. And it may possibly lead you to need to pivot along the way, but it's basically about having the courage to take your baby steps forward no matter what. So, curious minds would want to know, Miss Kathleen, why did courageous agility really resonate with you?
Yeah, because I think being courageous, regardless of what comes up, is the most powerful superpower that I have. That you can be so fearful and then still move forward anyway is so powerful because you don't allow those emotions to take over you.
You
And I'll
guys.
share a quick story with you. Growing up, I was severely dyslexic. I still am. Yet at that moment, dyslexia had a huge grip on my self confidence, my identity. And so through creative, courageous agility, I decided to buy a one-way ticket and fly to Thailand and to find a job teaching English the most scariest thing in my life because I couldn't read well, I couldn't spell, etc. And so that courageous agility of mine to just say, this is what I want to do to overcome this insecurity, regardless of how I'm feeling, I'm going to step forward anyway. And I will share that when I had to audition for that teaching position, it was the most profound moment of my life because I felt like such an imposter. And I feel like when we feel that way, it's kind of like a magical moment because that's really where courageous agility is really in full force, because you're being courageous even though everything in your system is telling you that you're wrong, you're fake, etc. And you just keep
Right.
moving forward, like you said, those baby steps.
Yeah,
Magic happens on the other side of that.
it does. I love that. Yes. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm just agreeing. The magic is on the other side. Yes.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. It's
Oh,
always on
yeah.
the other side.
It's always on the other side. I always love to tell people I love to dance on the edge of the box because that's what, some people stay in their box. I love to dance on the edge of the box because it really gives me courage to take that first foot out into the unknown. And then you realize sometimes the box is bigger than what you thought it was going to be. So, yes, I definitely agree. Well, Kathleen, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and opinions and sharing the story of Aloha HP. We're eagerly awaiting it to come to the mainland, but we really appreciate your gift of time and we want to definitely stay in touch and feature you when you expand more broadly.
Yes, well, I will say, Karen, from Hawaii, mahalo nui loa, which means thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. And thank you to listeners for the gift of your time as well. As you know, you have literally hundreds of thousands of other podcasts to listen to, and we don't take your patronage lightly. All that we ask is that you please like and subscribe to the show and share with just one friend, because by doing so, we can all get smarter about blended workforces at work. Thanks a ton and have a great rest of your day. See you next week. Well, that's our show for today. Thank you again for listening to the Blended Workforces at Work podcast. You can check out the show notes, additional episodes, bonus resources, and also submit guest recommendations on our website at blendedworkforcesatwork.com. You can also follow me on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, or YouTube by searching for the name Karen Rhodes, with Karen being spelled Karan. And if you like the show, the greatest gift you can give would be to subscribe and leave a rating on your favorite podcast platform of choice. This podcast has been a production of Shockingly Different Leadership, a global consultancy which helps organizations execute their people, talent development, and organizational effectiveness initiatives on an on-demand, contract, fractional, or project basis. Huge thanks to the SDL production and editing team for a job well done. Bye for now.